Good morning. I'm Mustafa Carroll. That's spelled M-U-S-T-A-F-A-A, Carroll, C-A-R-R-O-L-L, and I'm the Executive Director of the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter of the Council on American Islamic Relations. I want to thank all the members of the press for being here and our esteemed guests and Sister Ward. Just want to read a document that we put out shortly yesterday or day before, and basically says the Council on American Islamic Relations, CARE, and the Dallas-Fort Worth chapter welcomed the release of Ward Sakeik, a Palestinian woman detained by ICE as she was returning from her honeymoon with her husband. Sakeik was released from the Prairieland Detention Center on Tuesday evening, a stateless Palestinian born in Saudi Arabia. She was detained by ICE in February despite a pending green card application, a lawful marriage to a U.S. citizen, and a spotless compliance record for the last 15 years. Words cannot effectively express our sincere appreciation for the much-awaited release of Ms. Ward Sakeik from ICE detention that lasted over 120 days. We are extremely pleased that she is now able to rejoin her husband and continue building their life together. Many thanks to all those who helped contribute in aiding her release. Our Executive Director, Nihad Awad, makes a statement. While we welcome the release of Ward Sakeik, we call for a similar release of all those held unjustly, whether based on arbitrary detention or because of their political views. He also called for the immediate release of Mohammed Abu Shanab and Lika Cordia, a Palestinian who had more than 100 of her family members slaughtered in Gaza and is held in the Prairieland detention facility. Okay, our first speaker this morning is going to be none other than the husband of Ward Sakeik. Are you the first? Ward? Who? Oh, my bad. Well, I thought you said in order. Excuse me, scratch that. Okay, we're going to invite, now I got to change my program up a little. Okay. Yeah, we're going to invite the attorney, Ms. Maria Kari, who is a human rights lawyer and founder of legal nonprofit project Taha, which provides pro bono legal protection to vulnerable, marginalized individuals. Project Taha was part of multiple lawsuits that led to successful evacuation of 80 Americans who found themselves stuck in Gaza after October 7. Maria also currently represents Dr. Afia Siddiqui and Mahmoud Khalil. So without further ado, Maria.
So I think while Stacey didn't move, maybe we can read out the bios as well for my colleagues.
Oh, okay.
And we can all kind of speak at the same time. Yeah.
Okay, restart. Okay. Yeah, he sent them. Okay, and more of the legal team, we have Eric Lee, who is a partner with Lee and Godshaw Bennett, argued before the Supreme Court in 2024 and was the 2024 recipient of the American Immigration Lawyers Association Jack Wasserman Memorial Award for Excellence in Litigation. We also have Chris Goodall Bennett. Chris is a partner of Lee Goodall Bennett's LLP. Prior to founding the firm with Eric, he served as the legal director of the American Arab Anti-Discrimination Committee. And then we also have, who's not with us today, unfortunately, Walid El-Shaban. Walid is not able to join us today due to travel. However, Walid is an immigration attorney located in the DFW community here in Farmers Branch. He is here? Y'all gotta let me know these things. Sorry, raise your hand, brother. I thought I had all this stuff down. No problem. Well, scratch what I just said about him not being here. Okay. Waleed was there for Ward and her family since the morning she was detained over 140 days ago. His work was pivotal in halting ICE's unlawful deportation on Ward Sakeik through a federal court order. So thank you, Waleed, and thanks for being here. So, did I get everybody? Are we good now? Okay.
All right, assalamu alaikum everyone. My name is Maria Kari. I'm coming from Houston. It's a pleasure to be with you all. And it's an immense honor to be sharing the stage with Worth, who, Tahir contacted me just over a week ago, I believe, and things have happened very fast on this case. After hearing from Tahir, I reached out to my colleagues Eric and Chris, and a lot happened. We saw the deportation attempt on June 11th, where they tried to put Worth on a plane to what they described in their own words, the border of Israel is where they were going to drop her. And after that, there was an emergency stay from the federal court saying that they cannot make that unlawful attempt to deport her again. I remember having a conversation with you on Sunday night, and I said to you, look, I'm saying this to you as a sister figure, not as a lawyer, but I need you to get some sleep, Tahir. He was staying up at all hours of the night because he was so worried that Worth was going to call in the middle of the night again, saying that she's being put on a plane again. And we had that conversation. I told him, get some rest. We're in this long game to fight for Ward's freedom, and we need you healthy. And a few hours later, we get a panicked call from Tahir saying that they're trying to move her again. This is, mind you, with the federal court orders saying that they're not supposed to move her, not only just from the country, but out of the district, out of the Northern District of Texas, which is where we are right now. So, Ward's case is sort of emblematic of the theme of this presidency, right? To do what is unlawful, what is unconstitutional, to do it anyways. And if a federal judge tries to block it and stops you, to try it again anyways. Ward is not the only one who is in this precarious position. Even now, fighting for her freedom with her on the outside is of course easier, but we're still in the legal battle for her to be able to remain here. Some key things I wanted to flag about the case before I have Eric and Chris talk about sort of their role and a little bit more detail about the case. Two things I wanted to flag for everyone here. Ward had protection to be able to stay in the United States where she's lived her whole life essentially without the fear of being detained. How does she have that protection? Well, first of all, Palestinians are protected under Deferred Enforced Departure, DED. That's a program that Biden put into place, and it forbids the government from attempting to deport Palestinians. Ward is also considered stateless, which is a legal term for saying that there is no country that claims her to be a citizen of that country. There is no place else that Worth can call home. And I want everybody to think about that, right? Because we all have these documents that we take for granted that allow us to get on flights and see the world. But this is something that Worth has never had, right? This is something that Worth has not a privilege that she's not been afforded, but she had the right to travel to a U.S. territory, which is precisely what she did. This young couple researched their options for their honeymoon. They went to the U.S. Virgin Islands, and it was a domestic flight. Yet here we are, with Worth having spent nearly 5 months in detention as a result of that domestic flight. Worth was always in compliance with the order of her supervision that existed at the time that she was picked up by ICE. So, despite the legal protections, despite court orders, the government tried to do what they tried. And I'm going to have Eric and Chris come up here and talk a little bit about what that few days was like for us.
Hello, everybody. We'll be very quick because I think everybody really wants to hear from the people who have been immediately impacted by the events of the last 5 months. My name is Eric Lee. I will speak very quickly on the legal implications in this case and what it says about this country and what is happening in this country right now. On Monday morning at about 5 o'clock Central Time, I received a call from Tahir informing me that ICE was once again, despite a court order, telling Ward that she had to immediately pack all of her belongings and go to intake, where she was not told where she was going, where her repeated efforts to say to the ICE officers that that there was a federal court order that they would be disobeying if they attempted to deport her from the United States. Officers told her that she was ranting when she mentioned the existence of this temporary restraining order. And when I made multiple attempts to call the facility to inform them that they would be violating the law and separation of powers upon which a democratic system is based, they hung up on me, and we had to try alternative means of getting through to Ward. That should not happen. That does not happen in a democracy. Maria has already explained that Ward had a number of layers of protection. That is very significant because of what it means for all of those in this country, and I would say, unfortunately, at this point, regardless even of their citizenship, because the administration has just announced plans to denaturalize citizens on a scale that has not been seen before. The fact that there are two final points I want to make. Number one, the fact that the Department of Homeland Security said that Ward departed the United States because she went on a domestic flight to an American territory has stunning implications that should shock every American. Because if the position of the Department of Homeland Security is that traveling across international waters means that you can be detained by ICE upon your return, or that the CBP can set up papers checkpoints like they do in dictatorships, then what about everybody who flies between Hawaii and California? What about everybody who flies between New York and Detroit, a flight which passes over Canada? What about people that fly from Alaska to the lower 48? The people who are running the Department of Homeland Security have no idea what's in the Constitution. They are brazenly violating the law, and that should be something that causes extreme concern to everybody who's paying attention to this case. And lastly, the idea that the American government was going to deport Ward to Palestine raises a number, to the border of Israel, as they said, raises a number of important issues. Number one, we thought the American government didn't recognize Palestine as a country. Apparently, that was not an issue that they felt was a hindrance to Ward's deportation there. But more importantly, Palestine is experiencing a genocide at the moment, and the idea that someone who had lived in this country since she was 8 years old would be sent to a place where there's no water, where people are dying of disease and starvation and dying under Israeli bombs is something that should shock everybody. It's similar to what they're doing with the Salvadorans. Kilmar Abrego Garcia was tortured in the Sakeik prison in El Salvador, according to an affidavit filed just a couple of days ago. So tomorrow's the 4th of July. It should give us all pause to think about what is happening in this country. If those in this room and those watching believe in the defense of basic democratic rights, they need to stand up and fight for those principles themselves. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Chris Gottschall-Bennett. I just have a quick thought that I want to thank Ward and Tahir for trusting us. I think that it's easy to talk about the legal stuff and all the week and everything that happened in the days before your release, but it means no small thing to us that you trusted us. Kind of very suddenly, everybody jumped on middle of the night, met each other quickly, and just got going. That means something especially to me because as we talk about the fact that Ward is in this situation and is stateless, I am a Jewish person who has been involved in Palestine solidarity work throughout my adult life, and I've devoted my legal career to defending the rights of Palestinians and their allies, including the people in my community that I'm proud to be associated with, who stand up and fight against Israeli genocide and apartheid and the United States' complicity therein. But your statelessness is a direct result of the idea that I am supposed to be able to live in the place where your family is from, and that is an idea that I reject. And so it means a lot to me personally to be able to sort of contribute to that fight of resisting those effects of this thing that in my own community I've sort of been trying my best to convince others is wrong and needs to change. And so, I'm just grateful to be associated with you all. I'm grateful to be part of this team, and I'm really happy that you're out.
Okay, thank you so much. We're excited now to bring Sister Ward Sakeik. Ward is a magna cum laude graduate of the University of Texas at Arlington and runs a successful wedding photography business in DFW, and she is back home. So thank you so much, Ms. Ward Sakeik.
I'm just gonna look at everybody for a second. Assalamu alaikum to everyone in this room and everyone that's not in this room. First of all, I want to thank the community that have came together for this. My professors, teachers from high school, family, friends, neighbors, people I went to school with, work partners, every single person came together for me, and I really, really appreciate it. I can't thank you guys enough. This was the most beautiful thing that I have seen throughout my entire detention. The hotel we are at today is actually not new to me. I have covered several events here, and I would like to extend my gratitude to the owner. I never thought that I would be back in this hotel giving a speech about something extremely personal. This hotel is always filled with laughter, events, not a moment like this. So I'm just very thankful to be here. I would also like to thank my legal team and everyone that's been involved in this. You guys did an absolutely amazing job. You guys are incredible. And I had something written about Waleed not being here, but he's in the back, so you are amazing, and I thank you for everything that you have done from the very first moment you got that phone call. You're amazing. And finally, my incredible husband. I think I married the right guy, for sure. 1,000%, so. Okay. In February of this year, I married the love of my life. We spent 36 hours in the house that we were renovating for 6 months. After a few hours from returning from our honeymoon, I was put in a gray tracksuit and shackles immediately. I was handcuffed for 16 hours without any water or food on the bus. I was moved around like cattle, and the US government attempted to dump me in part of the world where I don't know where I'm going and what I'm doing or anything. They had 2 failed deportations, and these deportations, they just happened all of a sudden. I was not given a phone call. I actually got very lucky with the phone system, believe it or not, and that's how I was actually able to call my husband. I got extremely lucky with that. But a phone call was not provided to me from ICE. I just had to wait and take a very, very long time to pack my stuff in order for me to just buy time to wait for the phone system to work to call Tahir. And there were actually multiple days where it would be 36 hours, 50 hours, where I was not allowed to make a phone call to my attorney or my husband simply because I said, We don't want to deal with all that. We don't want to deal with family and attorney stuff. Please, you can call them when you get to the country, or when you get to the transfer, or whenever you get wherever you're getting. I was not allowed to break my fast. I actually was given a small meal and broke my fast next to a toilet in the intake room. The humanity that I was taught in middle school, elementary, high school, and college growing up is not the humanity that I've seen. It was the humanity that was stripped away from me. All of it. None of it. None of it was there. Nothing that my professors taught me, none. That was all stripped away. I have been a law-abiding resident of the United States since I was 8 years old. I went to college, I run a successful wedding photography business here in DFW, and I recently married Tahir. My family did come here in 2011 seeking asylum, and we have followed all immigration policies and have complied with every single thing, every single document, every single piece of paper, every single thing that was thrown at us. I am also in the final stages of getting my green card, so I'm very, very close. I did lose 5 months of my life because I was criminalized for being stateless. Something that I absolutely have no control over. I didn't choose to be stateless. I didn't do a crime that made me stateless. I had no choice. I was just stateless. When I was detained, art was one of the ways that me and the women were able to express ourselves. I asked the women that I was jailed with to work on an art project with me that I wanted to hang up in my office at home. I asked them to draw their flags and to draw next to the flags what their country represented. We drew together and they shared the most beautiful stories, and I actually brought it with me. Some of the flags are not finished because I was transferred for deportation, but that's actually the artwork of all the countries that were with me. Some unfortunately got deported before, I was able to add on more flags, but that's not even half of the countries that were with me. And this is all, for the beautiful women that I was detained with. They're absolutely remarkable. I want to share with you the honor of those who I left behind. Women who come here for better lives and are voiceless and helpless. A lot of these women don't have the money for lawyers or media outreach. They come here to provide for their families, and that's pretty much it. They're mothers, daughters, sisters, grandmothers. They're superheroes. They're humans, and their lives hold values. And I will continue to fight with them, for them, every single step of the way. I'm not going to stop. I also want the world to know that the women who do come here for a better life. But they are criminalized for that. They are dehumanized, and they're stripped away from their rights. We have been treated as a less than just simply for wanting a better life. Throughout my detention, I made a very beautiful friend. Her name was Liqat. I hope she watches this at some point. Our friendship nourished. It was the most beautiful friendship that I've had. We bonded. We would have crazy nights. We would stay up nights talking, laughing. And being out here and she's still in there is another battle for me. I mean, I'm glad to be here. I'm blessed. But I also feel for the women that are not out here breathing the same air that I'm breathing, wearing different clothes, wearing colors other than gray and blue. So, Liqat, if you're watching this, I love you, and I will continue to fight for you every single step of the way. The last thing I want to ask is this really what humanity is? Is this what it has come to? I want to know if humanity came from the heart or from the mind. Because at this point, I honestly don't even know what humanity is anymore. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ward. Our next speaker is none other than the husband of Ward, Brother Tahir Sakeik. Tahir is the husband, and he's a United States citizen who was born and raised, I guess, in Fort Worth, Texas, and has been the one facilitating the battle from outside of the detention center where his wife has been detained. And when we say facilitating, that's kind of small for what he's been doing. He's a real warrior, and I think you did good, sis. All right. So without further ado, Tahir.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. Good morning. As my wife mentioned, she's going to be giving you the story, and she did give you the story of what her life looked like for 140 days. She took the route of sharing the story of the women that she was detained with, the dehumanization, and quite frankly, she was being nice. I will not be nice. You cannot be nice when your wife's fate hangs in the balance of being able to get a phone call from her or one of her friends saying, your wife is packing her bags and she's leaving at 4:30 in the morning. For the facility to hope and pray that her legal team is not awake, her husband is sleeping at the wheel, and despite all of that, in God's timing, 2 failed deportation attempts, she's sitting in a conference room that she has shot wedding events at. You cannot make that up. A book needs to be written about a story like this, and it will be. But besides the last 140 days that she's had to experience, I want to give the backdrop of her life since she was 8 years old. One where she's called herself an American for 14 years, despite her legal status, despite coming to this country with no agency of herself, despite going and seeing ICE every single year, despite having ICE officers that she's checked in with for 15 years tell her, wow, you've grown up so quickly. Every year in Dallas off Stemmons Freeway, every single year they saw this girl age from the age of 8 years old, congratulate her on graduation 2 years ago, congratulate her sister for getting married 3 years ago. And these same officers, the same institution that has shown the humanity and gave her the liberty to live in the country for 15 years, is taking it at a time where she wants to become an American citizen on paper? Find a way to justify that. It took 140 days for them to come out with a statement saying, this was not a targeted operation. She flew over international waters. Well, after 140 days of our lawyers asking that same question and them being silent, if that's what they come up with, they've already lost the battle. Respectfully. So yes, the past 140 days of dehumanization, I'm not gonna feel that this is a favor that they've released her. It is not a favor. The favor was when she came to this country and they gave her the liberty to stay and be a contributor and a model citizen to society. That was the favor, and she honored that favor in her work. She's a magna cum laude grad. She has a wedding photography business. She has a home in Arlington, Texas with her name on it. So this is not a favor. And the battle will continue. And she will continue to respect this society. She will continue to rile around her community. All of these people are witnesses to who she is as a person. And she didn't see the support over the past 140 days, but I promise you over the past 48 hours, she has seen every single person's comment, every single person's support. And that is something we will never forget. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Tahir. Our next speaker is Dr. Omar Suleiman. He's an American Islamic scholar and civil rights activist. He is the founding president of the Yaqeen Institute for Islamic Research and an adjunct professor of Islamic Studies and member of the Ethics Center Advisory Board at Southern Methodist University. He visited Ward in person multiple times, and he has been an advocate on her case. So without further ado, Dr. Omar Suleiman.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, in the name of God, the most compassionate, the most merciful. I have a lot of mixed emotions, but I want to start by welcoming Warud back to her community. The joy that we have seeing you here, the joy that we have seeing you together, it's hard to put into words what it feels like to see someone in a jumpsuit and then to see them back in quote-unquote normal life, because here in the United States, we've accustomed ourselves to driving past ICE detention facilities that are situated like the one on Stemmons Freeway between Walmarts and restaurants, and thinking that this is completely normal, that there are a bunch of human beings that are stacked up, numbered, shackled, that don't have access to basic legal rights because they are quote-unquote illegal. And we were taught to erase them all as a bunch of criminals that simply didn't follow the law. They all just showed up to the border. Some of them, or all of them, are somehow involved in some sort of illegal trade, and they got into this country and they didn't do what they were supposed to do, and no one has a right to be here. Therefore, it is completely understandable that a whole bunch of human beings are erased and live in these facilities, and we don't have access to them. We don't know their names, their stories. We don't bother ourselves with the details, because the single detail of them quote unquote being illegal has been so etched into our conscience that we're just not asking basic questions. And so seeing Warud Thursday, today, I would have visited Warud in prison, along with Liqa Kurdiya. And Liqa, I know you will watch this, and I'm telling you that we will fight for you and that this community will not rest until we have a similar press conference for you and we celebrate with you. And it's not just you, but it's the nameless people that are still with you that we will never give up on. Thursday would have been the day. There's so many details that Wada did not share about the dehumanizing experience of prison. I hope she writes that book, and that book better be 400 pages long, because the first time I met her, she was in an orange jumpsuit, and the first hour of our visit, she just went through those grueling details of everything that she had been put through, the things that we don't even think about. What is it like for a woman to be transported from place to place? What do they put her in? How many people are stacked onto each other in a van? Are they allowed the basic liberty to use the bathroom or to eat food along the way, or to break their fast without someone sitting on a toilet? You know, isn't this a country that prides itself on religious freedom? Breaking your fast with someone sitting on a toilet right next to you, and you don't even know what the food is that's been provided for you, asking basic questions and having ICE agents just shrug at you and tell you, I don't know. How many times were you told, I don't know what? Every day, I don't know. There it is, I don't know. She has humor, by the way, and every other prisoner is missing her right now, because she brought that humor to the ICE detention center. I don't know, I don't know. No questions asked will be answered, and we're supposed to not ask questions about them. I was telling Tahir just something so simple. You're not allowed to have books in prison with a hardcover, because apparently that's a potential weapon. And so when I had to take books to them, I got to tear the covers off and hand them to Warud and to Liqa and to others. So on Tuesday, I'd torn up a bunch of books, and then Tahir texted me and said, she's getting out tonight. And I was like, you could have told me before I tore up all these books, to take to her. But that's just the simple, the simple things we just don't take into consideration here about the lives of these human beings behind prison bars. We're celebrating Warud being released. We're overjoyed by her release, but we also know that all of this is happening to distract the American public from the one thing that somehow is always supposed to be afforded nuance and be complicated, unlike the lives of those prisoners, and that is the genocide that the United States government is aiding and abetting at every single level. That's complicated. America's foreign policy is complicated. Why we drop bombs on thousands and thousands of people a day is complicated. Why we starve people to death is complicated. Why, according to the last Harvard study, about 400,000 people have been wiped out in Gaza. 400,000 people. Take 9/11, multiply that by however many times you want to, And imagine that happening in just 600 days. 400,000 people starved and slaughtered. 70% of Israel's arsenal is American funded and sent. American bombs are dropping by our tax dollars on innocent human beings. And that's why people are being incarcerated, because they're either Palestinian or they dare to speak for the Palestinian people. And this is meant to distract us and to intimidate us and to shock our system so that we don't advocate for that anymore. But as you've seen, Mahmoud Khalil is out, and Mahmoud Khalil went to a protest the very next day. Ward is out, Liqa will be out, all of them will be out, inshallah, and they will continue to raise their voices, because this is not a cause that you sleep on and you just move on from. We understand why we are being targeted as a community, and we absolutely cannot stop our advocacy, nor can we allow for this situation to be treated in isolation. I'll end with this. We say that for every story that you hear, there are 1,000 that you don't hear. There are many wards in prison. There are many people behind those bars across the country, many stories that you have not heard, many incredible human beings who will never see the light of the day or the lens of a camera at a press conference. Likewise, when a story breaks through of those who are suffering under the genocide in Gaza, there are thousands of people buried under the rubble who we will see charred, burnt to pieces, carried in bags, human flesh, whose stories we will never know. And so Ward is meant to expose to us the harsh realities and the ugliness, especially on a weekend where people will be marching in the streets for freedom, celebrating America's freedom. Ward is to expose you to not just the system of ICE, but a larger system of mass incarceration and how uniquely disgusting that is. There's no other country in the world that treats immigration like this. Is it that we are uniquely civilized, or are we uniquely uncivilized at this point as a country? Likewise with Gaza. The one story that breaks through is meant to open our eyes, open our hearts to a harsh reality that we are complicit in, because it is our tax dollars that are being used to wipe out an entire population right now. It's important for us to open our eyes, to open our ears, to open our hearts. I doubt that anybody would walk up to Ward, any person, no matter what your politics are, I doubt that anybody sitting here would walk up to Ward and say, you do not deserve to be out of that ICE detention center. You wouldn't have the heart to do so, no matter what your politics are, no matter where you stand on quote unquote immigration. There are many other human beings that have been taken away from us. And so we honor them all. We honor Liqa, we honor Ward, we honor every single person that's in there that we know and that we don't know. And we'll continue to strive for them. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum.
Thank you, Dr. Suleiman. We have in our midst State Representative Terry Mesa, and we want to invite her up to say just a few words before we go to questions and answers, if it's possible.
Where do you want me to come?
Come on up.
Up the stairs. Hi.
Let's go.
How have you been?
Good. How's it going?
I'm too short. You're too tall. No, we're both just right.
Is that good enough?
Yes, sure.
Okay.
My name's Terry Mesa. I'm proud to be the state representative for Irving. My son Gabriel works for the county commissioner that represents Arlington, so we have that double connection there. I'm here not only as a state rep, but also to say that the Hispanic community joins with the Muslim community in your call to action against what they're doing with our immigrant community here. It's against the Constitution, it's against the UN. They started off by criminalizing us, saying that all of us were criminals, right? Hispanics that come here are criminals, Muslims that come here are criminals. And then he said he was going to deport all the criminals. Well, that's not what he's doing, is it? That was a lie. There weren't that many criminals. They haven't gotten very many, maybe some. So they're just going after anybody and everybody that they can get, which is exemplified by you. Not a more honorable person that they could take than she is. So, so glad that you're back and that you're here and that you're together again. What a way to end a honeymoon, huh? So just want to say that I'm here in solidarity with the Muslim community as we work together to oppose what the current administration is doing against the Constitution and what they're doing to the immigrant community. Immigrants are who make America great. We're not the criminals. We're not the people to be deported. They should celebrate us because immigrants make our country great. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Terry. Now, we'd like to open the floor up for any question and answers by the press, any questions that the press might have.
Ward, can I please have you come up to answer a few questions? Thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
I guess I have two questions. What do you want to happen to you now? After everything you've gone through, what is it that you're wanting now? And as was mentioned, tomorrow we're going to be celebrating Independence Day. What does this country now mean to you and in a holiday like tomorrow?
This country has provided me with everything that I needed. I actually call it my home, and I still call it my home. I do not blame the country whatsoever. I do not blame the people in this country. I do not blame any single person in this country. It's unfortunate that I am in this situation, especially when I have abided and complied with every single thing that was given to me. From here, I don't ever want to lose connection with these women inside. I want to try to help the women inside in whichever way I can, whether it's through a conversation, whether it's through seeing if maybe we can get them new workout CDs, whatever it is. I know what it's like in there. I know that having someone to talk to, someone to send you a letter, someone to give you colored pencils, fighting over coloring papers because the library doesn't want to print out better ones. Simple. Why? Because that's how I want to do it. Yes, I'm the only one that knows what it's like being in there and what these women are deprived of. And it's unfortunate. So moving forward, yes, I want to stand by these women in whichever way I can. I still haven't found out exactly the path, but I am going to, and that's what I want to do.
Ward, Aaron with the Dallas Morning News. How did you find out you were being released? What time did you find out? And can you just take us through the details of?
Absolutely, I will tell you exactly. I was actually eating maruchan with Lika. That's how I found out. We were together and she was reading, I was reading, we were eating our noodles. And then I was called out, ICE need you. As I walked out, I thought it was going to be another document that they want me to sign, if I'm being completely honest. Never seen this officer before, and he was just telling me to provide him with my phone number and my current address, which I did, and then he just told me you're being released.
Or what time?
It was, I think it was around 4 or 5, if I recall. It was around, it was around like the afternoon. And I didn't believe him. I told him he was lying. I'm like, you're lying. And then he looked at me, he's like, why would I be lying? And I'm like, because you're lying. And then I told him, I was like, I will not believe you until I am out of this tracksuit and I am back inside. I'm back outside into the world. So he came back again, handed me the papers, and I was actually getting released. And even with the papers, I still didn't believe I was getting released. At intake, I didn't believe I was going to be released. And then when I was actually outside the facility, that's when I knew I was going to be released.
How long did it take?
I was told 5, 6. What time did you pick me up?
About 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah, not the process, it just, they have to do count. Count has to be cleared. Intake didn't actually take me long. Usually intake takes forever, but ICE was, I guess, down their throat to release me as soon as possible. So that was a blessing.
I think it's very important to have you please speak for yourself as to what ICE and the government is saying about you and your case, okay? saying, "The fact is, she is in our country illegally. She overstayed her visa and has had a final order by an immigration judge for over a decade. She had a final order of removal since 2011. Her appeal for the final order was dismissed by the Board of Immigration Appeals on February 12, 2014. She has exhausted her due process rights, and all of her claims for relief have been denied by the courts."
As an 8-year-old, how did I know I was overstaying a visa, please? As an 8-year-old, how did I know that I was overstaying a visa? I had the employment authorization ID. I did comply. And you can ask any ICE officer you run into, they will tell you she complied with everything. I did not know as an 8-year-old that I overstayed a visa, actually, so that was not in my hands. And matter of fact, I did not choose to come here. As an 8-year-old, I had no clue what a visa was, and matter of fact, I don't even remember any of the court proceedings. I was in school and going to lunch and making friends. So that's what I have to say to that.
DHS says that you guys had legal paperwork.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
DHS is saying that following you guys filing the appropriate legal applications to remain in the country, that led to your release from ICE custody. Is that your understanding of how things went? Was it just a paperwork issue?
I'm actually going to direct that question to my lawyers.
Yeah. May I quickly address that one?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's interesting that they're taking the position that the I-130 approval is what led to her release. That's not at all true. The I-130 approval, which is the first step in the green card process, came through on the 27th, June 27th. They still attempted to unlawfully deport her in violation of the temporary restraining order on the 30th. So their timeline doesn't match up, and that's just patently untrue. It's false. It's factually incorrect. They did not release her because of an approved I-130. They, in fact, tried to deport her after finding out about that I-130, and we shared that with the government, that it had been approved, and they still moved to act unlawfully.
Could you please respond to what ICE is saying in detail, because this is what they're saying. We don't know, I mean, who's right, who's wrong.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
First of all, it's ironic that that claims of illegality, this and that, are coming from a White House which is occupied by a convicted felon. And secondly, as Ward has already explained, she has never been granted anything like a credible fear interview. She made repeated requests. She has a right under U.S. and international law to establish that she has a credible fear of being returned to, whether it's whatever country they're planning to deport her to. They never told us. They told Ward once on the tarmac in the middle of the night that it was going to be the border of Israel. So she has a motion to reopen pending before the Board of Immigration Appeals, where she is eligible prima facie for a green card. That is the legal process which is presently playing out. There's no reason legally for the administration to try and deport her in the middle of the night over a court order when she has that application pending, and will hopefully soon be celebrating her LPR card and then her citizenship in 5 years.
But was there a final removal?
Yes.
There was?
Yeah.
Okay, and so then how does that work when she got married, or before she got married, they reopened?
The final removal order comes from a process that Ward was a derivative of. She never had an individual ability to assert, especially considering the changed country conditions that now exist. There's a war in the entire region. Israel's killed 400,000 people in the last year and a half with American support. So those are new conditions. She has never been given an opportunity, despite asking repeatedly, for a chance to sit down with an immigration officer and explain why she will be killed or tortured if deported from the country. That's a right that she has that the administration has repeatedly denied her. It's repeatedly denying it to hundreds of other people in the DVD litigation, which was before the United States Supreme Court last year. So that's where she is.
Eric, real quick, I'm still not clear on what exactly got her free. Was it legal intervention? Was there filing made? What was the thing?
I'm happy to answer. We can answer those questions, but I think Ward is really, having her be. We can talk about those things, but I'd like to make sure Ward has a chance to answer the questions.
Just can you describe to us the conditions that you experienced? I mean, obviously we hear these stories, but unless it's coming from someone who was there and lived it, describe to us kind of what you had to go through.
I will target it from the facility perspective. I have been transferred to 3 different facilities. The only one that I was not supposed to be at was the last one, Prairie Land. That was just supposed to be like the drop facility to pretty much get deported. The one that I stayed the longest at was El Valle, and the conditions of these facilities are terrible. Extremely unhygienic, dust everywhere, and I have mentioned that I had put in requests multiple times to clean the dust. Women are getting sick left and right because it is extremely dusty. One time they did come in to, listen to my request, and it was a small duster from Home Depot, the small ones, like this size. That was the one that was supposed to clean the entire facility. The restrooms are also very, very, very much unhygienic. The beds have rust everywhere. They're not properly maintained. Ants, cockroaches, grasshoppers, spiders, you name it, all over the facility. Girls will get bit. Girls will wake up with giant bruises. The conditions of the facility are not great. There is really not much to do in there. 24 hours. You just sit there, read, color. The only part of all of this where it was absolutely, where I saw some type of change was in the second detention center that I was in, which was the longest one that I was detained at. The recreation team provided us with some workout CDs and Zumba, and that I really do appreciate because I have been putting in multiple requests for that, and I'm actually very grateful for that.
What message do you have for the people who are still inside? I mean, looking at your drawing there, people from all over the world, families have been impacted, your cases getting media attention, most cases won't. What words do you have for them today?
I want them to know that they're important. I want them to know not because they just don't speak English, that means they're any less. Every single person, every single girl in there is important. They have families. I've seen them celebrate their daughter's birthday parties on the tablets, and we will actually all gather and sing happy birthday to the inmate's daughter. We don't even know her, but just because we know what it's like, we've thrown birthday parties in the facilities where we've created our own birthday cakes. It's an amazing sisterhood, and I want these women to know that it's not like, oh, you're in a detention center, you're not important. They are all important. They all deserve rights. They're all humans, and I will continue to fight for them, and I still communicate with some of them, so I haven't been able not to reach anybody, so I call them and we're all in a group, so absolutely.
Do you have a sister?
I do have a sister.
What have you told her? What precautions may she be taking now, if any, just
My sister is very well aware. My family has been very supportive throughout all of this, and she is currently in her marriage pretty much applying for things just like how I'm applying for everything, so that's what I have to say about my sister.
Ward, who told you? I guess one of the basic questions for people from the outside, not knowing your case and the intricacies of it. Who told you you could leave the U.S. for the deportation order?
So whenever we are given the employment authorization ID, and I have... Oh, sorry, go ahead.
She did not leave the United States. Yeah, I think that...
Can you? It's a U.S. territory. I understand what y'all are saying. I'm just trying to understand who told y'all that she would be able to go, what they're saying, overseas, and then be able to come back into this country with that order.
Yeah, so first of all, it's not overseas. It's U.S. Virgin Islands is an American territory. You don't need a passport to go there. It's part of the United States, period. And so that's our answer on that.
But
I think on the legal, I'm not trying to be, but like, let's let Ward have some time to explain why she's, and we're happy to answer all your questions, but let's just.
It's complicated, we'll clarify stuff.
I have a question. Talk us through when you came off the plane, just help us understand, were you taken into custody right off the flight? Can you talk us through what happened when you came back?
Yeah, so when we were put on the flight, we were told to stay until everyone on the flight leaves. And then I think it was 6 or 8 of us. And after the plane pretty much emptied out, we were taken out of the plane immediately, just big men, and we were taken immediately into the van. Before we were placed on the van, that's when we were put in handcuffs. And in the airport, I was switched between the first van to the second van, and the second van was where I was pretty much on my way to the detention center in Miami.
So this was coming out from the plane from here?
No, this was from Miami. So whenever from the Virgin Islands to Miami, and then, yeah. Is that the one that you were asking about?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to understand when you were initially taken.
Yes, that's the one, from the Virgin Islands to Miami.
At Miami International?
Yes.
Thank you.
What do you have a question here?
So, Lord, I don't know if you recall me, but you shot my brother's wedding.
I did.
I'm 24 years old, and I just want to know what you would say to other women and girls who are my age, your age. What can we do? I am someone, I'm non-affiliated. I did what I could do. I couldn't work here, but I did what I could do. I created infographics. I reached out. I did everything in my power, and I have a group behind me of other students who stood by me. We've never really talked, and I didn't do it for the publicity. I did it because it was the right thing to do. So what would you say to me and others like us? How can we help? What can we do? I don't want to ever leave anyone like me alone in that facility. We have to be there. We have to be their voice.
Continue to do what you've been doing. That's what I would tell you. I would tell you to write these women letters, to ask about these women, to truly see and try to understand what goes on behind these closed doors. Because the minute you are put in these facilities, your rights are taken immediately. I mean, you could have a doctorate's degree, and guess what? You're still considered stupid. So I would tell you to continue to do what you're doing. Wherever you see a person needs help, continue to help them. And I know it's really hard to understand someone's case inside the detention facility, and they're not very, spoken, or, whatever reason that might be. But I would say to continue to speak up, to continue to fight. I mean, you don't have to know women inside to know that a detention center is a place for them not to be there, So just to fight for the cause of not to have, that, or for that to be a problem, for people to be criminalized just for simply wanting a better life. That topic alone is insane to me. Just to be criminalized for wanting a better life for you, your children, your kids, your husband, even yourself. So and I really appreciate you too. Thank you.
Lauren, what was your greatest fear inside? Was it that you wouldn't get, what was going through your head? What was your greatest fear?
My greatest fear inside, there was a fear every day, and there was something new every single day. My greatest fear was not coming back into the life that I built for myself. I've made so many connections with friends, family, clients, everybody, and it just to lose all of that for something that I didn't even know what I did wrong. It was just the fact of maybe not ever seeing these faces ever again, and I didn't even get to say goodbye.
Can you describe the moment that you reunited with your husband?
Oh, that was amazing. That was absolutely amazing. It's so funny because I was telling him about that yesterday. The guard that actually took me, a facility guard, that took me to, get me out of the door and to see my husband, was the same exact person that told me when I asked her where I was going, because I didn't want to leave the dorm without knowing where I am going, is the same exact person that told me, I will handcuff you from head to toe and drag you out of this dorm if you don't leave right now. That's the same exact person that opened the door to my freedom. So I was overfilled with joy and a little shock. It was my first time seeing a tree, so that was my first time seeing a tree in 5 months. So and with my potato sacks, running to my husband. And it was amazing.
And what did you say? What did you do?
Nothing. I just was like, oh my God, he's my husband. I can touch him without handcuffs and without a glass, nothing. And it was just freedom. Like, and I'm talking to you now without any handcuffs. I don't have any handcuffs on me. You know, I'm not being told go sit over there. So I have freedom to stand up here right now without anybody looking at me or making sure, you know, I'm not saying certain stuff. So, it's just freedom. That's one thing that I've been deprived of for 5 months. I mean, simple acts of freedom, things that you do every day that you don't notice.
What was capacity like between these three facilities that you were at? I've heard kind of reports of overcrowding at a lot of these.
Yes,
facilities.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The first facility I was at, I think it was about a little over 100 women, but they were each in different dorms. So it was 2, 4, 6, I believe, 6 per dorm. The second facility was when I entered the facility, so a few months. We were at, I believe, 45 total. When I left the facility, we were at 95.
Oh wow.
Yes, and
was this the last one, Prairieland?
No, El Valle. El Valle detention.
And what was the other one, other than El Valle?
It was the Broward Transitional Center. That was the first one. I was only there for like 3 weeks, but the longest one I stayed at was El Valle. And we would rotate, like we would have sometimes 74, sometimes we'd have 94, sometimes we would have 65, because sometimes they'll just do like large deportations. The last one I was at it was a little smaller, so I would say it was around like 45, you know, and then they just brought in more bunks. And now I think it's going to be like around 60 women in that room, and it's going to definitely be overcrowded because the room is not that big. We can't walk properly in that room or anything. But I know they're just trying to fit as many people in the facilities as possible.
Can you speak about your transfer?
You can also tell them about your denial of religious accommodations.
Oh yes, I'm getting to that. Excuse me?
Can you speak about your transfers, what it was like for being shuffled around from facility to facility without fear?
Yeah, that part.
Right, then if you can also talk about the accommodations for religious observers.
Yes, absolutely. The transfer process was absolutely disgusting. I would never wish this upon my worst enemy. The first transfer,
It's what it is, it's traffic.
The first transfer, I was on the bus for about 16 hours, handcuffed from head to toe on wooden benches with me and several other women. And that's when I was being transferred from Broward Transitional Center to El Valle. We were not given water or food, and we would smell the driver eating Chick-fil-A. We would ask for water, bang on the door for food, and he would just turn up the radio and act like he wasn't listening to us. The plane ride, the officers were heating up their meals. Mind you, we haven't had chicken or burgers in a while, so, and that was interesting. So, just the smell of food, and when we weren't giving any. We were given some on the plane, which was after 16 hours, but I did not eat the food because I was fasting, and I was told that I could take this meal with me on the bus and eat it whenever it was time to break the fast after the plane lands. After the plane landed, I would get on another bus, and I told the officer, I am fasting, sir. There's a meal in the plane. I need you to get that for me. That meal was never given. When I got to intake, we were thrown in intake, literally like animals, for about 7 hours in just an intake room. An intake room is pretty much not even the size of this. Sometimes it could be 400 square feet, sometimes it could be 700 square feet. A bunch of women are inside with a toilet, no soap, water, and that's pretty much it. And you were just gonna sit there and wait to be checked into the facility. That's the processing. The second time I was transferred, it was 3 vans, because I was being transferred from El Valle to Prairieland, so it was longer. It was not a plane, it was 3 vans. I was put on the first van with red suiters, and they were actually not wearing a red suit. I had to ask, I'm like, are you guys red suiters? And they said yes, because they were wearing the regular clothes when they were getting transferred.
And just to clarify, red suits signify that someone has a more serious offense that they're being detained for, correct?
Absolutely, yeah. So there is blue, orange, and red. The last facility had yellow, but I'm not really familiar with that one. Yes, and mind you, in the facility, We are not even allowed to look towards men. It's absolutely not. So the fact that I was on this van with these men, yes, there was barbed wire between us, shocked me. I was very confused. I'm like, I'm not even allowed to talk to you, like, let alone be in the same van as you. That was that, and it was just long hours on the van. The guards don't talk to you. They're just transportation guards anyways. You ask where you're going. Nobody knows anything. It's like, you're just going there. Why? We don't know. How come? We don't know. When am I gonna get there? We don't know. Nobody knows anything. We were actually told don't drink too much water because we're not trying to stop for the bathroom. So that was something that we were told. And then when I got to the facility, I was thrown in intake, and that's when I thought I was going to be processed, and turns out it was going to be a deportation. And intake is not lovely. It's absolutely disgusting. It was a 400 square foot room that had a capacity of 10, and they threw 18 women in there. The water we're drinking was just a sink water. Be grateful we gave you water, is what they would say. I've seen women that needed their medication and they were not given their medication.
Pregnant women.
Yeah, I've seen that. I have also seen the eye bags women laid out on the floor trying to sleep in 60-degree room, 50-degree room, because that's how it is. And when we ask for a blanket, they look at us like it's a shock. So that's that for the transfer. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, one thing I would also like to mention is in the second facility that I was in, they actually tried to meet my religious needs, and I will give them all the credit for that. They even had an amazing halal diet for us, and even like on Eid, they gave us like a nice meal, and I appreciated that. On the last facility that I was in, I was told that I told them that I needed a prayer mat. I was given a ripped blanket for that. Mind you, when we pray, when we prostrate, we're on our knees for a long period of time, and I was given a ripped blanket. The diet we were given, which is supposed to be halal, was just kosher. We would eat the same packaged food every single day. Every single day, me and Leka ate the same food, and she's probably still eating it in there. Mind you guys, on a halal diet, and I will have Imam Amr Suleiman, he can explain halal diet a lot better than me, but we can eat meat, we can eat fish, we can eat cookies, we can eat cake, we can eat fruits. We were just given the same meal every single day. I wanted praying beads, I wanted a Quran, I wanted to go to my property. I was like, you don't even have to get them for me, they're in my property. If you allow me to go to my property, I have my praying mat, my bead, and my Quran, so you don't even have to get anything. That was the first time I got to Prairieland. Until now, or until yesterday, I still was not taken to my property. And that was not given to me. I was still praying on that blanket with the hijab that my husband sent me and eating a kosher diet for halal. So, that's all. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Ward. We really appreciate hearing from you, and we're so thankful that you're back. Want to thank the press for coming out and to endure with us here at this. Thanks Terry Mesa. Thanks to all our fabulous speakers, the attorneys did a fabulous job, and of course Ward's husband, Brother Tahir Sheikh, amazing individual. So thanks to everyone. Thank you.